Hello everyone, welcome back. The origins of pulmonary artery bending begin with the first successful operation for the creation of pulmonic stenosis was performed on July 11, 1951 and reported the following year in 1952 in surgery, gynecology and obstetrics. The report entitled The Treatment of Certain Congenital Malformations of the Heart by the Creation of Pulmonic Stenosis to Reduce Pulmonary Hypertension and Excessive Pulmonary Blood Flow, a preliminary report by William H. Muller and J. Francis Damon. The beneficiary was 5 months old at the time of operation, weighed 8 pounds 4 ounces, failure to thrive symptoms. The signs and symptoms suggestive of severe congestive heart failure. Baby had a large left to right shunt through a ventricular septal defect. The chest was entered through an unusual incision in the left anterior second intercostal space. A special U-shaped clamp fabricated from sponge forceps was applied to the main pulmonary artery. An ellipse of the pulmonary artery excised and the excision line overswing 3 times. Finally, a 1 cm wide band of umbilical tape wrapped with polyethylene film was passed around the narrowed area of pulmonary artery and sutured in place. The early postoperative course was somewhat difficult. However, 6 months after operation, the patient had resumed normal growth, no longer required digitalis therapy, and was free of the signs and symptoms of cardiac decompensation. Previous reports from experimental laboratories had suggested that bands or tapes placed on large arteries had a tendency to erode into the artery. Thus, the idea of excising a portion of the pulmonary artery was quite logical. However, Muller and Damon believed that merely wedging the pulmonary artery would result in later dilatation at the point of constriction, and thus decision that a method of wedging and bending might be preferable. On the basis of this decision, they added a pulmonary artery band of umbilical tape wrapped with polyethylene. The next major problem was to determine the necessary degree of narrowing. Muller and Damon chose to reduce the diameter of the pulmonary artery to 1/3 of its original assessment. One must respect these pioneers of cardiac surgery and pediatric cardiology for the boldness and determination that permitted the development of such an imaginative operation. Although the technical aspects of the operation for creation of pulmonic stenosis subsequently have been greatly modified and simplified, the operation of pulmonary artery bending still finds limited but important use in the management of infants with large interventricular communications and high pulmonary artery flow that are not amenable to immediate corrective operations. I thus open this topic of pulmonary artery bending in current era with my respect to the pioneers of cardiac surgery and pediatric cardiology. As PA bending is used as a stage approach by congenital heart surgeons, the 3 principles by which it works is reduction in the diameter of the main pulmonary artery, decreasing blood flow to the branch pulmonary arteries, and reducing pulmonary artery pressure. Many factors should be taken into account in a patient who is considered for PA bending. That is the type of cardiac defect, the type of intracardiac shunt, forcing resolution of the main congenital defect, and experience of the team. PA bending exists in its original avatar today. The indications can be broadly classified into classical, new. From a physiopathological point of view, 3 different situations can be assessed. One is the univentricular physiology. Second is the postponing the choice between biventricular and univentricular repair in atrioventricular or ventricular septal defects with ventricular imbalance. Third is the Swiss-stitch type of multiple VSDs. Fourth is LV preparation or retraining and adjunctive procedures like Glenn and palliative arterial switch operations. And the last is the hypoplastic left heart syndrome requiring stage procedure. Since that time, Muller and Damon's original technique has been greatly modified and many other bending materials have been utilized, including cellophane, silk, cotton, umbilical tape, nylon, Teflon, Dacron and PDS. These materials can cause reaction in the PA wall and surrounding tissue, leading to severe fibrosis, stricture, cutting through the vessel wall, incorporation and calcification. These reactions and complications make debending procedure more difficult or impossible, necessitate additional procedures for PA reconstructions and increase the risk of the final corrective procedure. The difficulty and complications encountered when we attempted to deband some types of materials led us to utilize the PTFE strip and report our experience to demonstrate the effectiveness and outcome which is produced by PA bending with this material. In most of our patients, we use non-absorbable band, but an entity called absorbable band exists, which I would be talking later in my report. PA bending principles are governed by Poiseuille's law. That is, minimal changes to the pulmonary diameter have a major effect on resistance and flow. Before describing the Trussler's formula, the research study done in early 1966 in the Department of Surgery, University of Toronto, and the Hospital for Sick Children, Toronto, Canada, focused on the constants of 20 and 26 in PA bending. The following observations were derived in the study. A. The pulmonary artery was bended to a predicted diameter by suturing the bend at measured points on its circumference, and B. This was done by plotting the circumference in millimeter of the PA bend against the child's body weight in kgs and compared each plot with a clinical estimation of the adequacy of the band in terms of pulmonary blood flow. The proper circumference of the band appeared to range between 20 and 26 mm depending on the child's weight. Trussler's formula is a starting point of constriction. In infants with simple defects without mixing disorders, 20 plus 1 mm per kg body weight is chosen. In presence of bidirectional mixing disorders, tailor the band to 24 plus 1 mm per kg body weight is adopted. Trussler and colleagues proposed guidelines for PA bending for cyanotic and non-cyanotic situations. The target distal pulmonary artery pressure is conventionally 30 to 50% of systemic for a biventricular heart, while it should be as close to the Fontan pressure, that is mean of 15 mm of mercury, as possible in a univentricular situation. In this operative video, I am describing the materials which are used to prepare the PTFE strip or PA bending procedure. How to mark the points on a PTFE strip for bending. The principles involved are: estimate the length of pulmonary artery band necessary to achieve a narrowing of the lumen appropriate to the infant's weight and cardiac malformation. This length is marked on the band with two fine polypropylene sutures. Use of Trussler's formula 1972 is adopted. In non-cyanotic, non-mixing lesions or two-pump repairs, 20 mm plus body weight in kgs is preferred. In mixing lesions, transposition physiology with ventricular septal defect, 24 mm plus body weight in kgs is chosen. In transposition of great arteries and related group with admixture defect, it seeds effectively to oxygen saturation. Hence, it brings in an extra 4 mm of circumference for the same weight. This extra 4 mm is placed in the formula to prevent the aggravation of pre-existent hypoxia in the admixture lesion. For example, in this case study of 2 kg child with double outlet right ventricle, large ventricular septal defect amounting to single ventricle, transposed great arteries, single ventricle physiology, we use 24 mm plus 2 kgs, that is 26 mm. A PTFE strip of 0.6 mm thickness and width 3 to 5 mm is chosen. First fold is rectangular shaped PTFE strip midway. Mark the midpoint on the PTFE strip. In this patient, as per the Trussler's formula, 24 mm plus 2 kgs, that is 26 mm is chosen. This 26 mm is divided by half to achieve 13 mm. Then from this midpoint on the PTFE strip, calculate 13 mm either side of the midline to achieve the PA bending circumference. This circumference will vary from case to case basis. Both these 13 millimeter points are marked with 5 polypropylene sutures. The use of a measured band on the pulmonary artery is based on the following premises. First, two infants of the same weight with the same malformation require similar pulmonary blood flows. Second, pulmonary blood flow following banding is determined by the size of the lumen of the pulmonary artery under the band and hence is directly related to the circumference of the band. Pulmonary blood flow is directly proportional to the circumference of the band. Third, therefore, in uncomplicated cases, the optimum circumference of the band should be predictable from the weight of the child. And fourth, in addition, if the circumference of the band and the child's weight are known, the pulmonary blood flow can be estimated in general terms. Both these 13 millimeter points joined together by an imaginary line becomes the circumference of the band encircling the pulmonary artery. Now this band is ready to be used in this patient for pulmonary artery banding.
Pulmonary artery banding was first reported by Mueller and Damon in 1952 for children with large left-to-right shunt or single ventricle and excessive pulmonary blood flow. Pulmonary artery banding in a child with normally related great vessels can be performed either through a left lateral thoracotomy or a median sternotomy incision. Although the left thoracotomy was historically the preferred approach, many surgeons now prefer the median sternotomy approach. Both the approaches has its pros and cons, but of late median sternotomy technique has gained some popularity because of the advantages of ease of access, especially in the setting of complex great vessel arrangements, minimal interference with the ventilation at the time of banding, and one surgical incision for subsequent stage procedures. After median sternotomy, thymus dissection and superior 2/3 of the anterior pericardium is open. A patent ductus arteriosus or a ligamentum arteriosum is always ligated. After marking the desired marking points on the strip of PTFE 0.6 mm membrane, or as per the case, by using 5x0 or 6x0 polypropylene sutures, this strip is passed through the transverse sinus around both the aorta and pulmonary artery using right-angled Dennis-Brown dissector. Then, the space between the aorta and the main pulmonary artery is dissected out. Care must be taken to avoid or to coagulate the small veins that runs between the two vessels. Now, by subtraction technique, using right-angled clamp or dissector is passed around the aorta, not the pulmonary artery, and the free end of the band is grasped. The band is pulled through the space between the aorta and the pulmonary artery by subtraction technique encircles the pulmonary artery. The band is then sequentially tightened by placing multiple ligaclips. A catheter or intravenous cannula 20 G/22 G on a rubber guard is placed in the distal pulmonary artery to monitor the distal pulmonary artery pressure in comparison with the aortic radial pressure as the band is being tightened. Once the band has been tightened to the desired degree, the band is fixed to the proximal pulmonary artery with several interrupted sutures to prevent distal migration of the band and the encroachment on the right pulmonary artery. PA banding is also done to prepare and retain the left ventricle of a patient with transposition of the great arteries of the arterial switch procedure, either A. following late presentation after 4 weeks of age, or B, following prior atrial repair. Here, the catheter or intravenous rubber guard is placed in the proximal pulmonary artery adjoining the LV cavity to retrain the left ventricle in case of corrected transposition, CC-TGA patients.
The standard first stage palliation for univentricular heart with unrestricted pulmonary blood flow is surgical pulmonary artery bending, for which the ideal age is within the first 8 weeks of life. This study done by Aritra Mukherjee and colleagues at Department of Pediatric Cardiology, Narayana Super Speciality Hospital, Howrah, West Bengal, divided the patient into 3 groups as follows. Group A, age 3 to 6 months, Group B, age 6 months to 1 year, and Group C, age more than 1 year, with additional features of pulmonary venous hypertension. The conclusions derived from the study were late PA band in selected patients with single ventricle physiology can have definite benefit in terms of correction of heart failure symptoms and subsequent conversion to bidirectional Glenn, and can potentially change the natural history of disease both in terms of survival and quality of life. At this stage, I would like to have Dr. K.S. Ganpati, my colleague on board, who was involved in this pilot study at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. This study was conducted to analyze the mortality and morbidity of a heterogeneous group of patients with a functionally univentricular heart and pulmonary artery hypertension undergoing pulmonary artery bending.
PA banding for univentricular patients who are presenting late. When I was a resident in All India Institute in 1988 to 2002, we did a study comprising of 254 patients who underwent PA banding for single ventricle palliation. We studied the outcome of 148 patients who underwent next stage palliation and analyzed the result as to how they fared following a previous PA banding. The oldest child to undergo PA banding in this group was 26 months old. Close to 60% were more than 6 months of age. For those who were more than 6 months, we did a CAT study to make sure that the pulmonary vascular resistance was reversible. The technique used was sternotomy using a Teflon or a Gore-Tex strip. The other options now is that we can use a Hegar, which is recommended for the particular body surface area. Go around the pulmonary artery, tie it over the agar and slide the agar out. In patients in whom there is a chance of left ventricular outflow obstruction or systemic outflow obstruction, we can do a PA band, an endoluminal PA band, and combine it with the proximal AP window. So in this study, out of 254 patients, there was 10% early mortality and 20% could not achieve satisfactory banding due to late presentation. The youngest in that group was 7-day-old. What we noticed was that children who were less than 6 months of age at the time of banding, there was a reversal of pulmonary artery pressure and they had good outcomes following subsequent palliation. But for those who were more than 6 months at the time of banding, close to 75% of them continued to have PA pressures more than 18 millimeters mercury, and this group, when offered subsequent palliation, had a mortality close to 30%. Performing Fontan in this group also had a high mortality of more than 35%. So on close analysis of that study, what we found was if the mean PA pressure is more than 18 millimeters mercury, or if the pulmonary vascular resistance is more than 3.5 Wood units meter square, or if the end-diastolic pressure is more than 12 millimeters mercury, they were best left alone. Possibly in this time we would offer them transplantation if they become class 3 or class 4 symptomatic. However, if the mean PA pressure is less than 18 millimeters mercury with a PVR of less than 2, or if an EDP of less than 12, they are good candidates for Glenn and subsequent single ventricle palliation in the form of Fontan. The conclusion of the study was that those who are more than 25 millimeters mercury mean PA pressure or PVR of more than 4 Wood units should not be offered any subsequent palliation, and PA band should be accepted as a final palliation. On closer analysis, what we are now realizing is that even children with a mean PA pressure of more than 18 millimeters mercury or a PVR of more than 3.5 Wood units are better served by offering them transplantation when they become class 3 or class 4 symptomatic, rather than subjecting them to very high risk single ventricle palliation in the form of Glenn or Fontan surgeries. Sometimes these patients can have a palliative option in the form of an arteriovenous fistula to improve their saturations. The best strategy is to operate on single ventricle patients before they are 3 months of age to provide them with a protected pulmonary bed. Various studies have, however, shown that for children who are operated more than 6 months of age, it is difficult to identify the proportion of patients who are going to respond. For patients who are presenting late, we do not have a control on when they are going to present to us, but it's still prudent to offer PA banding because it is difficult to predict who are going to respond. A PA banding would prevent pulmonary overflow and improve systemic perfusion, which might help them symptomatically. Or even if they are not good candidates for subsequent single ventricle palliation, a partially protected pulmonary bed would permit us to offer heart transplantation as a treatment option in case if the patient develops class 3 or class 4 symptoms. This is much better than doing a heart and lung transplantation, which they would need if their PVR is elevated. In conclusion, though it would be preferable to offer PA banding early in the course of single ventricle palliation, in our country we would still get a lot of late referrals who have missed the bus. Subjecting the late presenters to PA banding, especially if they have increased pulmonary blood flow, would benefit them symptomatically. If the PA pressure reduces, they can go for subsequent single ventricle palliation. If it does not, it can either be accepted as a final palliation or it can improve their candidacy for heart transplantation. Thank you.
Coming to the business end of the topic, I would like to bring to your attention the various alternatives available as on today for consideration of PA banding procedure. Conventional PA banding versus adjustable PA banding. Which is better? I analyzed the data in PubMed search engine and found 51 papers, of which 7 papers represented the best evidence to answer the clinical question. Only 4 studies qualified, 1 prospective and 3 retrospective, and these studies analyzed data in human subjects while 3 were experimental studies in animals. The result of all the 7 studies led us to conclude that adjustable PA band provides superior early outcomes, reduces early mortality, need for inotropes and need for reintervention, and provides equivalent or superior band gradients when compared to conventional PA band. The use of adjustable PA band was found to result in significant hemodynamic improvement by progressively reducing the pulmonary artery pressures and left to right shunt. The adjustable PA band was found to improve early survival and also made delayed repair feasible in a better clinical state with reduced mortality and morbidity. So due to logistical issues involved, centers across developing countries still go with conventional PA banding. FlowWatch is the first alternative to be discussed here. It was marketed by EndoArt Lausanne, Switzerland. It is a wireless battery-free implantable device that allows the band size to be adjusted without the need for additional surgeries or other invasive procedures. The narrowing of the pulmonary artery can be controlled weeks or even months after the operation. Reports also show that recovery period in patients that obtained the FlowWatch device was faster and smoother in comparison to those that received the traditional PA band method. However, FlowWatch is only suitable for children with a body weight ranging from 3 kg to 10 kg. The flexibility provided by telemetrically controlled FlowWatch PA band is superior to that of conventional PA band because of the following. It eliminates the need for reoperation to adjust the pulmonary artery band. Post-operative management is simplified and post-operative mechanical ventilation and length of the stay in the ICU and hospital care significantly reduced even in more compromised and difficult to manage infants. The cost of the device is $10,000 approximately 7.59 lakhs Indian rupees, which is offset by the reduction in the duration of post-operative mechanical ventilation, length of the stay in the ICU and hospital, and avoidance of any PA banding related reoperation. And lastly, pulmonary artery reconstruction is no longer required when intracardiac repair is undertaken. The second alternative to conventional PA bending is the Indian version of FlowWatch, also called as percutaneously adjustable PA bending. The technique is simple, inexpensive, does not require specialized equipment. Tightening is performed in 3 to 6 sittings and intervals of 1 to 3 days adding not more than 30 mm of mercury gradient at a time. In two pump repair, gradient of 60 mm of mercury is achieved. In single ventricle repair, tighten the band as much as possible. Saturation should not drop below 75%. On achieving satisfactory gradients, the band is internalized by simply opening up the subcutaneous plane for about 1 cm and clipping the two threads together. Above this, the sutures were cut to release the portion of the band outside the skin. The skin was then closed with two interrupted sutures. This technique has its own merits and demerits. The third alternative or technique is the modified pulmonary artery banding. This is a novel technique used for staged repair of a subset of patients with complex transposition physiology. Surgical technique comprises of a suitably sized PTFE tube graft anastomosed end-to-end to the reconstructed neopulmonary root. If there is a size mismatch happening in the neopulmonary root, a homograft patch with a central fenestration of 5 mm into this patch was done and the PTFE graft was then anastomosed to this fenestration. Modified PA bending, when performed in transposed great vessel physiology following a definitive or palliative arterial switch operation, functions better with both the diameter and the length of the interposition graft contributing to the restriction of pulmonary blood flow. The fourth alternative provided is the efficiency and feasibility of dilatable bands in selected patients. Two types of dilatable handmade bands are evaluated and divided into two groups: main pulmonary artery bands and bilateral branch pulmonary artery bands, that is hybrid stage 1 palliation. Stepwise balloon angioplasty was performed, increasing the diameter either to completely dilate with total release of the band or in others to partially dilate the bands in order to improve flow and or saturations. Dilatation of both main and bilateral branch pulmonary artery bands is possible, effective and safe. Dilatable main pulmonary artery bands allow for progressive dilatation with postponement of surgery or complete release of the bands. Bilateral dilatable branch pulmonary bands offer palliative benefit, especially in hybrid cases where pulmonary blood flow may be limited by the bands before the ideal conditions for a stage 2 procedure exist. Dilatable band for main pulmonary artery is a non-resorbable 2 mm nylon approximated and fixed with 6-O-Prolene 3 vascular clips. Dilatable bands for bilateral branch pulmonary arteries is an open ring 3 to 4 mm Gore-Tex reclosed with 1 polypropylene 7-O stitch and fixed to branch pulmonary artery with 1 7-O stitch. Absorbable pulmonary artery banding. Use of absorbable pulmonary artery banding is a strategy for reducing reoperation. Strips of approximately 5 mm width were cut from a polydioxanone tape made of flat woven polydioxanone filaments. This strategy should be incorporated in surgical strategy for repair of muscular and residual VSDs. Endoluminal pulmonary artery banding. Traditional extraluminal pulmonary artery band can be associated with significant morbidity. Endoluminal pulmonary artery banding can be used with simultaneous creation of an aortopulmonary communication for the early palliation of complex anomalies with univentricular circulation. In this case, the band functions as a resistor to continuous pulmonary blood flow, in effect replacing the function of a systemic to pulmonary artery shunt. Material used was a circular patch of poly tightly woven Dacron graft was prepared measured to match the diameter of the main pulmonary artery. A circular opening of 2 to 8 mm in diameter was created in the central portion of the patch using a disposable patch. The size of the fenestration was determined by two factors. For patients in whom the patch function was to be only that of an endoluminal band, the fenestration was half the diameter of the aortic annulus, and in patients in whom the band functioned as a dampener of flow after the creation of an unrestricted AP window, the fenestration was sized according to the size of the patient. In general, the fenestration sizes were 2 to 3 mm for newborns, 3 to 4 mm for infants, 4 to 5 mm for older children, and 5 to 8 mm for adults. The concept of incisional pulmonary artery banding came into existence due to the band that was adequate at the time of placement in the operating room became too loose over the ensuing weeks and months. This can represent resorption of internal folds of the vessel wall that initially are present when a concentric and constricting band is placed. This acute foldings of the pulmonary artery further decrease the cross-sectional area of the pulmonary artery. With time, however, these infoldings resolve, restoring a greater internal cross-sectional area, a greater pulmonary blood flow, and thus a looser pulmonary artery band. The technique is done by partially occluding C-clamp applied to half diameter of MPA distal to the sinotubular junction. A perpendicular incision with a deep V-shaped arteriotomy is made and later closed with 5-0 polypropylene suture, effectively reducing the diameter of the vessel wall by approximately 40%. Banded the pulmonary artery with 0.6 mm Gore-Tex membrane. The calculation is 20 plus 2.4, that is 22.4. So I have taken 23 millimeter and used by a trussless formula, and by digital subtraction technique we have encircled the PA. The band is placed close to the pulmonary wall and away from the bifurcation of the PA, so that it doesn't impinge on the bifurcation. We have banded the pulmonary artery to the acceptable levels, 50% of the systemic pressures. So we are at the end of the procedure, and this is a short video showing the pulmonary artery band.